You know, what is Jeff Foxworthy has this old thing, you might be a redneck if, right? Well, you might have been fooled by the Republicans if is the title of my little riff here. If you think the Republicans really care about every embryo turning into a living, breathing baby 9 months later, then you've been fooled by the Republican Party. New investigations by the website RH Reality Check and Politico have discovered that the Kochtopus, Charles and David Koch, have spent tens of millions of dollars of their personal fortunes to fund the forced pregnancy movement. According to RH Reality Check's Adele Stan, tax documents show that the Kochtopus directed pro-business groups. Now, you have to ask yourself the question, why would a pro-business group be funding legislative initiatives across America that are designed to close women's health clinics, deny women access to contraception, reproductive health services, or abortions? Even deny women access to things like birth control pills. So, despite the millions that the Kochs have spent on the anti-choice movement, make no mistake about it, they, like the rest of the institutional Republican Party, they really don't give a rat's patootie about whether or not a woman has an abortion. What they care about, and this is a really important distinction, and once you understand this, then a lot of stuff falls into place, including the answer to questions like, where did all the angry white men come from? Instead, what they care about is protecting the Republican brand, the interests of big business. And the only way that they can protect that Republican brand is to keep Republicans in power. And the only way they can do that, which allows them to further the interests of the big businesses that they actually represent and the billionaires, is to bring together a whole bunch of small sliver-sized single interest groups, like the pro-life movement as one of those slivers, under one big umbrella and convince them that Republicans care about their issues. They have to build their coalition this way because if they were honest about their governing philosophy, they'd lose every single election. You noticed how Rand Paul the other day, he said, Rachel Maddow pointing out that he's a plagiarist, he's being attacked by hacks and haters. Well, the Republicans have been reaching out to the haters. Why? Why does having, the Confederate flag-loving, guys in the Republican Party, why does that help the business agenda? Well, there's a really simple answer. It gets Republicans elected, and then they can do the business agenda. Democrats have a clear governing philosophy, and that's to do whatever it takes to protect average, hardworking, everyday Americans. I mean, we've seen that philosophy played out with the Democrats' support of the labor movement, the environment, Medicare, food stamps, unemployment insurance, Social Security, universal health care. I mean, the list goes on and on. But unlike the Democrats, the Republicans have a much more narrow governing philosophy. The only thing they really care about is protecting big business and billionaires, the wealthy elite. And here's the problem. When that's your governing philosophy, I mean, if the Republicans if John Boehner just came out and said, the only bills I'm bringing to the floor are those that protect billionaires, which is pretty much what he does. But if he said that, if he just told the truth about it, or Mitch McTurtle or any of these guys, they would have a very hard time getting average people to vote for them. And thus, they would not win elections. So what the Republicans had to do, and they really started putting this together back, this was Nixon's Southern strategy, was the genesis of this. Bring in the white racists from the South into the Republican Party. They had to create a coalition of supporters by bringing together people and groups who really don't care and may not even agree with helping corporations and rich people, but they're so concerned about things like abortion or guns or God that they're going to get in bed with the billionaires to advance their own personal agendas, their own personal passion. So the Republicans go out, they find these passionate single interest groups and pull them together under the big GOP elephant with the upside-down stars on its side. Maybe they're even trying to get the devil worshippers. They go to the pro-life movement. They say, if you believe that life begins at conception, you might be a Republican. They go to gun lovers and say, if you think that everyone has the right to carry a military assault weapon to protect themselves from hordes of angry black people marching down Main Street, you might be a Republican. They go to climate change deniers and say, if you think the scientists are self-serving and global warming is perfectly normal, you might be a Republican. They go to homophobes and say, if you hate gay people, then you must be a Republican. And finally, Republicans go to the overworked and underpaid white people, the working poor and the middle class. And they say, if you think that poor people are really mostly black and Hispanic lazy bums who don't deserve your help, then you're definitely a Republican. This is how Republicans win elections and hold power. They just bring in enough useful idiots to get themselves elected. Most of these positions don't advance the major principles of the Republican Party, which is supporting the billionaires and protecting big business, but others do. When Republicans reach out to climate change deniers, they're really trying to protect the bottom lines of big oil. When Republicans bring gun lovers under the umbrella, they're really protecting the profits of America's military-industrial complex and our weapons manufacturing and multi-billion-dollar industry. So when you see news stories about how billionaires and business groups like the Koch brothers are supporting things like forced ultrasounds or opposing gay marriage, it should remind you that what they're really doing is they're calling out to the useful idiots that they need to win elections. They already have the rich people and the corporations in their back pocket. So, but if they want to win an election, they got to add the useful idiots to that. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing it very, very successfully. And so the question here, Ali Fogg over at The Guardian today, the headline, where do all the angry white men come from? I'll tell you where they come from. They come from people who 20 and 30 years ago were making enough that they could support that one man could support an entire family with one job. And now he has to work, his wife has to work, his kids have to work, their credit card's maxed out, their home is underwater, their kid has a $20,000 student debt, and Fox News comes along and says it's those black people on welfare.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Or it's those gay people who want to get married, or whatever. I mean, it's like it's always somebody else's fault. That's where these angry white people come from.